Good morning, good morning. It is wonderful Wednesday. Hope you're having a great time. Today is going to be a rather short, a little coffee because I have to go to the doctor's. Regular checkup day for Mr. Thomas. He's almost 1 month old. He was born on December 19th, and here we are at the 16th, so almost a month. That's nice and good, and it'll be fine. So we'll go ahead and get right to the topic. The other day, Gavin Smith died. Gavin Smith was a poker player. He was a character, right? He was always fun, jovial, sometimes a little bit of an antagonist, but definitely someone who you enjoyed being around. And we were friendly. He actually won the World Poker Tour tournament at Mirage the year before I won it. So we had a little something in common. We played a lot together. I mean, we were both regulars on the circuit back in poker's heyday. And he was a lot of fun. He seemed to enjoy life to the fullest. From what I understand, it says no Instagram. I think it says we're on Instagram. Maybe I should end it and restart it. I don't know. We'll see. Give me just 1 second, everyone. I'm going to end this stream and try again. It says we're live. All right. Anyway, yeah, Gavin Smith was an interesting character. He was very fun. He seemed to not care about money much at all, which is interesting, right? I mean, he would be equally happy if he had, or at least seem equally happy if he had infinite money or no money. For some reason, it says Instagram we're live, but no one is viewing, so maybe it's broken. That's unfortunate if it is. But that's okay. We have everyone else here. Hopefully they'll figure it out. So yeah, apparently he had sole custody of his 2 boys. He was only 50 years old, and that is sad. We're not going to dwell on that too much. But Danielle Anderson, who I follow on Twitter, she posted something to the effect of, make sure that people in your life know how you actually feel. Because lots and lots of people were saying nice things about Gavin after he passed away. And I am not sure if he was aware of the fact that everyone enjoyed him, right? A lot of people, especially those who have big personalities, often are very emotional, right? I mean, listen, I don't know anything about Gavin or the circumstances of his passing away. I'm talking about in broad generalizations. But very often people will be on a downswing in life or a downswing monetarily or whatever, and they'll get sad and depressed. And if they are around people who tell them good things and, let them know that they're appreciated and loved, that is a big, big help. However, it seems like people only say good things about people after they pass away. And that is a big bummer, right? Because many people pass away due to downswings or depression or whatever, and they don't really realize how beneficial they are to the world. And you want to make sure that people know that you appreciate them. And for all I know, I don't know anything about how Gavin was feeling or anything like that whenever he passed away, or I don't even know the circumstances, but that often is the case. Dave Benefield, another one of my friends on Twitter, posted a quote from Epictetus, which is completely unrelated to this, but it essentially says, you become what you give your attention to. If you don't choose what thoughts and images you expose yourself to, someone else will. And this is very important because you actually do get to pick what you observe and consume, right? Your Twitter feed is a very obvious example, right? You can follow people who post hateful things or you can follow people who post positive things. If you are constantly around hateful images and hateful speech, then you will probably end up being hateful, assuming you're not outraged by it. And also, even if you are outraged by it, eventually these things become normal to you. And if these things are normal to you, then just doesn't even matter. It's just another walk in the park. I mean, we see that in the news today. I mean, it seems like the world's getting crazier and crazier, yet nothing is shocking anymore, right? We don't even have to go into examples. There are plenty of examples available. So what I suggest you do is make sure you surround yourself by positive influences, people who are beneficial to your life, who make you feel good about yourself. And I'm not saying you need to be coddled, because if you are doing poorly at life, you certainly need people around you telling you you are doing poorly at life. But you need people around you who are beneficial. I mean, I know many people who are very successful at life, yet they have a bad home life because for some reason their significant other just thinks they are never good enough, right? Despite the fact that they are crushing life, they're doing great, at least from all outside perception. I mean, for all I know, maybe they have horrible issues. And if you are great, but you have one or two people in your life who talk down to you, that can drastically affect your overall mental happiness, which can lead you to doing bad things, right? So I definitely suggest you get rid of the negative people who are influences in your life. If you're a content producer and you're out there, like myself to some extent, I'm sure many other people have it way worse than me, but inevitably haters will come around, right? And you have to understand, those people do not value their time at all because they're spending their time to try to be negative to someone. And also, they don't matter. I know a lot of content producers really get hung up on sporadic people who talk down to them. And if you put out something that 10,000 people see, inevitably 5 or 10 are going to not like you, right? And if you let the opinions of 5 or 10 people who do not value their time and their energy matter to you, that's going to be very detrimental to you long term. So you have to understand that everyone in life is not going to be a good influence to you. And if they're not a good influence to you, cut them out quickly. I'm sure some of you listening here are in a relationship that you know is not so good, right? And I'm sure some of you will end up breaking up because you realize, hey, this is not where I need to be in life. This is not productive to me. It's not beneficial to me. And you will make the long-term wise decision to move away from that, even if you know it's painful in the moment. Alternatively, you may be in a great relationship. And when I say relationship, I don't just mean with your significant other. I mean with your friends, with your job, with whatever you're spending your time doing. If you're in a good relationship, you need to really cherish that and realize that it's very, very beneficial to you to maintain that and keep that around. Michael says you recommend Enchiridion. I have no clue how to say that. Apparently that is another Stoic philosopher. Check it out. It's available for free online. Good. I'm a positive influence. I do my best. It's not about how you die, it's about how you live. That is very true. But everyone likes drama, right? People love drama. They like to know how it happened, why it happened. People like justification. But in reality, justification is for people who are unsure about what is going on and I'm not phrasing this right. Justification for things is somewhat irrelevant. Things happen. It's okay. You have to deal with it. You change your family's life for the better. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Good morning to everyone. Indeed, indeed. I'm a Greer person. I don't know what the word Greer means, but I'm going to presume it's a typo. Anyway, I'm glad you're having a good time here. There's some cultural things here, too. Here in Glasgow, it's pretty normal for friends to constantly and mercilessly slate and make fun of each other, even if you're not that close. It's very clear that British humor is very, very aggressive and negative, is what it amounts to. Quite often they are, that's just what it is. And, just because that's what the culture does not mean you have to surround yourself by people who do those things. We live in a global environment now where you can really associate with whoever you want. And that's important. Whenever I was a young poker player, I didn't know any poker players in my region besides bad ones. But I made friends on the internet. And my close friends for many years were the best online players in the world because, I could surround myself with them. I got good at poker because I surrounded myself with good poker players and worked hard to be their peers, right? Not just their students, their peers. And I think you need to do that too. Imagine you have some hobby that you know is completely non-productive. Let's say You like knitting sweaters, and then when you knit the sweater, you do something with it. I mean, to be fair, this is a bad example. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with knitting sweaters and giving it to your family and your friends and homeless people or whatever. But imagine you do something that doesn't really... Knitting sweaters is a bad example. Let's say instead you, I don't know, insert anything productive. The thing is, everything can kind of be productive to some extent. Let's insert drinking alcohol. There we go. Imagine you get drunk every night for a month. If you continue doing this, you will become a drunk, right? If you're not already. And it's important that you realize that is a relationship in your life. You have a relationship with the alcohol. And if you continue with this relationship, it's not going to work out so well for your life. I mean, drugs are a very clear example of that too. So you need to get rid of those negative influences and instead have influences that are beneficial in your life, like going to the gym, studying a game you love, producing things for your family and for homeless people, etc., etc. So you want to make sure that you have good relationships in your life. See if this link works. Michael, I'm not going to click on any links here, but I guess that's for Ami, so yeah, that's good. Just watch the Phil Hellmuth World Series of Poker Europe webinar I did with him. You get to see the great side of Phil and very great information. Yeah, Phil Hellmuth is a surprisingly good person away from the table, at least in my experience with him. Let's see. Do you think teaching poker has made me a significantly better poker player? Yes, absolutely. It's forced me to learn, right? Whenever you are teaching anything, you have to make sure you fully understand it yourself. Otherwise, you'll come off as an idiot, right? And also, I mean, I'm not trying to scam anyone or give anyone bad information. I'm trying to actually help people. It's not like I'm out to write a book to make a few quick bucks. I'm in this for the long run to generate a community that is helpful to one another and also betters their lives so that they can in turn better the world. You saw Mario Silvestri at the PCA. Haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, he's been around. He's quiet. He's a quiet poker player, right? He's not making big scenes or anything, but I saw him at the World Series this year. I mean, he plays a lot. So anyway, those two random thoughts. You need to let people know if they are good or bad influences in your life. And if they are bad, I don't think it's so terrible for you to be honest with them. For you to let them know, I'm going to separate myself from you because of blank, whatever it is. Like, for example, let's say you're trying to learn a new skill, yet all of your friends, all they want to do is go to the club all night and wake up at 6 p.m. the next day and then go to the club again. It's probably not good friends for you, right? And if they are actually good friends, they will understand and maybe even change themselves. If they're bad friends, they're going to give you crap for it and be negative influences in your life, and that'll be very clear to you if they actually do care about you or if they just care about exactly what they are doing. So keep that in mind. Realize everyone's not going to be your friend, and you do not have to have relationships with everyone. I mean, I know a lot of people fall into this trap where they will have friends in high school, let's say, and then they try to remain friends with these people forever, despite the fact that perhaps you have progressed very well in life and they are not progressing in life whatsoever. And sure, maybe it's fine to keep in touch, but at the same time, you don't need to be spending all of your time obsessing over the lives of people who do not influence you in the least bit today. And realize those relationships are maybe not even negative, but they are time sucks. They don't actually provide you any significant value. And that's important. Am I approachable? Yes. Feel free to come say hi whenever you like. If you ever run into me anywhere, say hello. A few people have been running into me on the streets in New York City, which is always fun, because I don't expect that, right? Whenever I'm walking around Las Vegas or a casino, I expect for people to say hello and stop and take pictures and chat and whatnot, but not in the streets of New York City. But I think it's happened 4 or 5 times now over the last year, so we're now big time. All right, let's see. Van Halen tells a story about how his high school friends wanted to go out and party, and he wanted to stay home and practice the guitar. Yeah. My high school friends wanted to go out and party. I wanted to stay home and play and learn poker. And, it's something I devoted my life to. And, really understand that whatever you devote your life to, whatever your attention goes to, whatever your time is spent on, that is what you are going to be. If you spend all of your time reading Facebook and retweeting stuff, well, you're going to be a great Facebook and retweeter, but it's probably not going to get you very far. If you spend all your time watching sitcoms, you may learn a lot about sitcoms, if that's what you're trying to do, but you're probably not going to get very far, right? I mean, it's pretty well known. People who watch a lot of TV typically don't do too well, unless what they're watching is very educational things that they directly apply to their lives. If you are watching essentially rubbish, well, you're wasting your time, right? 99% says, be respectful of people's space whenever they are in the middle of hands. Yeah, I mean, if someone's in the middle of a poker hand, certainly don't go up to them. But I mean, I know me personally, if I'm sitting there at the table and I'm not playing a hand, feel free to come say hello. How long can downswings last in terms of hands? It depends, right? It depends on how much variance is in your game. If you have a high variance strategy, then you will experience longer downswings. As your win rate is smaller, you'll have longer downswings. I mean, for example, imagine you win 20 big blinds per 100 hands like you will in live poker. You're not going to have very long downswings, but imagine you're winning 1 big blind per 100 hand, which may be the case in very, very high stakes online games. You're going to have humongously long downswings. So it's not a question of how many hands, right? Very often in poker and in life, there's not just one factor. Like the only factor you're looking at here is time in terms of number per hands. But a few other things are very relevant. Your variance, your standard deviation, and also your win rate. Those are two very, very important concepts. All right. I don't think I have much else to say about this besides you need to make sure that if people are good influences and beneficial in your life, you let them know, especially if it's obvious things are not going so well for them, right? Because that's the time that a lot of people who are emotional start to have big swings in their psyche. And imagine Jonathan Little somehow comes very close to going broke. We're not, so that's good. But imagine he does. It's always nice to hear people saying good things. Unfortunately, you all tell me good things all the time. And it's probably because I'm out there actively trying to better your lives. But I mean, imagine you just have a good relationship in your life, like one of your friends. You know, let your friends know that you appreciate them. I'm not saying you need to like buy them anything, but you need to let them know, hey, I appreciate you. You're a good influence in my life, and I think you're great. And it may sound sappy, but that kind of thing is beneficial. Also, make sure you get rid of bad influences. Almost everyone has some bad influences in their life. And if you can either really separate yourself from those bad influences or just get away from them completely, it's going to be very beneficial to you. And understand that if you keep around bad influences, there are going to be consequences, right? If you keep around, let's say, doing drugs, if you do drugs 2 times a week, even if it's not all that much, is that not a lot? I don't know. I don't do drugs. But if you do drugs every once in a while, it's a bad influence, right? And that could lead somewhere worse. It may not. You know, maybe you stay at your 2 times per week usage, which is probably acceptable, depending on the drug, I guess. Again, I don't know anything about drugs. But it could ramp up, in which case that could be very detrimental, right? If you're dating or married to a significant other who talks poorly about you and does not appreciate you, that may stay the same or get better, or it may get worse. And you have to ask, do I need this in my life? I always try to ask myself that question whenever I'm approaching anything. Do I need this in my life right now? I mean, a good example of this is I just had a baby, right? Do I need a baby in my life? Yes, I think I do. It's a good long-term investment, and it seems like a wise decision. Do I need poker in my life right now? Do I need to go play a lot of poker right now? I certainly like playing a lot of poker. I certainly like going on long poker trips, but do I need that in my life right now, given I have a 1-month-old and a 2-year-old at home? And the answer is no. I don't need that in my life right now. Right now, I do not want big swings because, you need to make sure you keep your money under control when you have a family. And also, I need to make sure I keep my wife sane because if I'm gone, she's going to go nuts. So I don't need that in my life right now. And you may find that in different periods of your life, you need different things in your life. Like, let's say you're working a job and you're getting burnt out. Well, maybe you need a hobby in your life that takes your mind away from work. I'm trying to say, if you ever need a drug or need alcohol, you probably don't want crutches in your life. I was just thinking, imagine your work is really stressful. Maybe you need to come home and have a drink. Ideally, you find a better way to cope for it. Understand that a lot of substances you introduce to your body that are obviously negative usually are not a good influence. And ideally, you don't want crutches. What do I think about Berkey's fold with 9s? I don't know. I don't watch a whole lot of poker because I don't need that in my life right now. We don't have time for that. apparently folded second nuts or something like this. I mean, he's known to make big exploitative folds, and the problem with making big exploitative plays is sometimes you're wrong. And the fun thing about exploitative plays is that they need to be right like 75% of the time or more. Otherwise, you're going to get crushed. Can I touch on that? What's the main point? Oh, wait. Usually the answer is it depends. Yes, of course it depends. Poker is very situational, of course. Gambling is your bad influence. How did I stop sports betting? So I had a period of time where I was betting too much on sports. That was very bad. It lost lots of my bankroll. That was a giant disaster. And how did I stop? Well, first things first, I stopped going to casinos where the sports book was right near it. If I had to walk by the poker room, or if I had to walk by the sports book, I just would not even go. So I would walk by it, and either I would feel a desire to go gamble, or I would just be sick to my stomach thinking about the losses, right? So I hate to say it, but at Bellagio, which is a place I love, they have great staff, great room, etc. The sports book is pretty much attached to the poker room. So I used to go there and play every day for like 12 hours a day. And I stopped doing that. I went somewhere else. Actually, I just stopped playing. I started traveling way more to live tournament circuits, or live tournament stops. So that was an easy way to do it, just completely get away from it. A lot of people who bet on sports like watching sports. I never really liked watching sports for some reason. That just wasn't my thing. I think sports are generally rather boring, especially if I'm not even going to play the game, right? Because I guess I'm always trying to learn and improve my skills at something, and if I'm watching the game to pass the time or to see the result of the game, that's not actually that beneficial. But I would tell you to stop watching sports. That's something else I did. I completely stopped watching them. My friends would still watch sports, and I had to move away from some of my friends who were really, really into it. So I didn't need that in my life. I realized I did not need that in my life anymore, and I got rid of it. So I would tell you, if it actually is a problem for you, and you know it is, it sounds like you know it is, obliterate it from your life. Never go to ESPN.com or any other sports site. Never watch sports on TV. Never walk into a sports book. That is actually sort of like the Band-Aid advice, because it really doesn't solve the problem, but it certainly will plug the leak. You may find that you leak into something else. Maybe you start drinking too much or something because you're tilted and annoyed. You don't get to go feed your itch. But a lot of poker players love to gamble. And my issue was that I always thought I had a bit of an edge. And looking back, I actually did have a bit of an edge if I used proper bankroll management, but I didn't. I was a fish. So anyway, that's something that is definitely detrimental to most people. I mean, Mike Sexton and I talked about this in the video. Watch Once You've Won $1 Million. You can go find that on YouTube. Sports betting is one of his, or is or was, I'm not sure, one of his leaks, and it sounds like he has it pretty much under control, but he likes being in the action, you know? It's what a lot of people like. So you have to ask, is it worth it to sacrifice my long-term earning potential, or maybe go broke, to satisfy this desire to be in action? And if you're realistic about it, the answer is obviously no. How practical is it to learn, play poker having a full-time job? It depends on how much time you have in your spare time, right? If you only work 40 hours a week, well, there's a whole another, I don't even know, 100-something hours per week available to you. It's a lot of time. I mean, I learned poker when I had a full-time job and was going to college, so certainly you can do it. I said the other day I sacrificed my social life early in my career because poker is very important and it gave you big motivation. Yeah, I mean, again, is going out and partying with children what you need in your life? That was my alternative. Or playing Magic the Gathering all day. Is that what I need in my life? I mean, sure, I like the game, but like going out and partying was never that alluring, but playing the other game I liked, Magic the Gathering, was very alluring. And I had to realize, all right, I'm going to stop going to Magic the Gathering tournaments 4 times a week, because that is, I'm not going to say it's a complete dead end, but it's essentially a dead end. Back then it was definitely a dead end. Today you can maybe make a little bit of money at it. But it's not what I needed in my life, so I got rid of it. Still enjoy it. It's my hobby, but it's not like a hardcore hobby. Daniel Negreanu said, watching your tweet in his video. Rich, I'm not sure what that means, but if Negreanu's here, hello. Good morning, I hope life is going well for you. You stopped sports betting when you realized how little control you had on the outcome. Yeah, you have none. And how much time it sucked away from your life. A lot, as much as you want to let it suck away from it. A small intervention helps too. I mean, you have to realize, like, gambling is a thing that you can go as deep on as you would like. I mean, a lot of people will, gamble just a little bit. twice a year or something like that. And if you do that, that's probably just fine as long as you're keeping it manageable. Obviously, if you make $100K a year and you bet $50K a year twice, it's probably not smart, right? But if you go to Vegas and you lose $1,000 2 times a year consistently like clockwork, it's not that big of a deal. But if you make $100,000 a year and you go and you play / gamble away $1,000 every 2 days, well, now you're losing all of your income and more, right? So it really is a lot about how well you keep things in moderation, right? Like having a drink at the end of the night or getting drunk off your ass once a week probably isn't that big of a deal. But if you do it all day, every day, it's a huge deal. So moderation is key with most things. If you are going to go hardcore on something, I mean, I definitely go too hardcore on most things that I do. You want to make sure that it is a beneficial thing. I mentioned this book the other day. Let me find it again. By Brandon Adams. It's a little book. We'll call it a pamphlet. Personal Organization for Degenerates. It's a good book. If you know you have an addictive personality and you know that you go very hard on things, check out this book. I think it is very beneficial because it will help you understand your personality more and also give you some tips to manage it well. I mean, I know whenever I'm doing anything, I typically go pretty deep on it. Like right now, I'm in the process of writing and editing books, and I'm doing that just like all day, every day. And all my free time, I'm doing it. I'm addicted to it. But is writing and editing books to help all of you better your lives a good thing to channel my energy into? Certainly it is, right? Currently playing a tournament series in Vietnam. You're among the top 5 at the end of day 1. Any advice for day 2? Just keep playing great. Any advice for the championship event? Just keep playing great. You busted within 2 hours of day 2. Understand at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What actually matters is, like, are we in the money, or actually where you are in the money, or in the tournament? Why don't you play online poker professionally, like a job from your house? I live in America, and I don't want to play on the shady sites. Also, I don't need that in my life right now, right? I used to be an online pro. I played all day, every day. It's how I got much of the money that got me started. Well, all the money that got me started, because I started with $50. That's what medical students and residents do. They sacrifice short-term gains for long-term results. I mean, you definitely need to understand delayed gratification. Like, if you're a poker player and you're pretty good, your goal should be getting really good, not winning some small amount of money right now. What a lot of people do instead is they get to where they can beat like 25 cent, 50 cent, and they 20 table it, and they make, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks an hour, but they never progress their skills. I mean, maybe they get there very slowly, but they're not thinking about the game very much. They're just grinding out their better than their opponent's default strategy and making some amount of money, but they're not actually improving. If you're not playing medium and high stakes, assuming you do aspire to be a good winning player, I definitely suggest you spend your time getting better, not grinding it out. That said, you do need to play some, clearly. Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker Volume 1 and Volume 2 have helped you a lot. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any experience playing against Chino Ream? A lot. He is a bit of a maniac. Do I rely on Pile Solver for coaching? Pile Solver and Munker Solver I consult fairly often. Binge drinking, even if not that often, has shown long-term bad effects on your health. Well, of course it has. I guess when I say go out and get drunk, I don't mean drinking until you can't see for 3 days. I mean, if you go out and you have 7 beers, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's probably not the end of the world. It's not like going out and having 7 beers every day. That's what I'm trying to say, right? If you keep it in moderation. The biggest problem you have when you have a full-time job is trying to be serious about poker. It's hard to leave the poker table because it seems so long in between sessions. I mean, yeah, that's an issue. Do you do a cheat day like on the 4-hour body diet? I did whenever I was in the process of losing weight. I'm not really trying to lose weight anymore. Actually, I probably should try to lose weight. I think at my lowest I was like 140 pounds and not that muscly. Now I have more muscle and I'm like 155. I think the ideal weight is probably like 150. I should probably lose about 5 pounds if I cared that much, but at the moment I don't care that much. Again, do I need an hour in the gym each day in my life right now? I don't think I do. It's important to pick priorities. So we get an hour in the gym every 2 or 3 days. I think that's fine. It's fine, right? It's not ideal, but it's fine. I'm sacrificing that time to do things like a little coffee, but I'd rather talk to all of you out there 3 days a week or go to the gym an additional 3 days a week. And given the way my life is set up and the priorities I have in place, I'm not in the process of trying to develop the best body I possibly can right now. So I recognize that. He's a bit of a maniac, lol. Yes, he is a bit of a maniac. But yeah, did I do a cheat day? I did, but then I stopped because I realized, like, why would I want to be cheating on the diet if I'm actually trying to lose weight and get in shape? I mean, when I was trying to lose weight and get in shape, I was like 185 pounds, and I got down to about 140 by basically cutting out all sugar and all bad carbs. And that was it. I have a blog about this, how I lost 40 pounds and got in the best shape of my life, so go find it. Can I briefly explain the push-fold strategy? No, we're running out of time. Ask me that on another day and maybe we can. Let's see. All right, I have to go. Like I said, I had to be out of here at about 9:30. It is 9:30. We will be back on Friday, as far as I know, unless something comes up. We do this show, A Little Coffee, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m., usually for 30 minutes to an hour. Instagram caps me at an hour. I have to thank Instagram for inspiring me to start this show. I was trying to figure out how to make more regular content for Instagram, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I can put this on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, etc., Twitch, all these places. So thank you all for inspiring me to do that. I appreciate it. Again, if you love people, let you know that you love them. If people add joy to your life, let them know that they add joy. And if they don't add joy, realize you don't have to have them in your life. If you do not pick who is around you, someone else will pick for you. And get rid of bad influences. If you are constantly consuming negative things, hateful things, useless things, well, your life is going to be hateful and negative and useless. What's the topic for Friday? Here's the topic for Friday. I don't know yet. I made this topic 5 minutes before the show, which is why my thoughts were all scatterbrained. Very rare. I mean, listen, I do this show the way I like to do it. It's not like I have any huge sponsor to appease beyond exactly myself. By the way, we are sponsored by pokercoaching.com, the site that I own and coach at. You can go and get a completely free trial now. No credit cards required, etc., etc. I try to make it as free as I possibly can for you. So go there, get 7 free days. I learned a long time ago, you should not, at least in my mind, rely on others for a handout. Sure, it's nice when you get a handout. It'd be nice if a big site would somehow sponsor me. That said, you can't count on it. So knowing you can't count on it, I went a different direction. And yes, so I know I enjoy making these shows last second. I have no problem with it. It makes sure whatever topic is on my mind that I want to talk about, I get to talk about, instead of having like a list of stuff that I'm like, guess I have to talk about the one I like the best out of this pile of things I don't like. I found this works better for me because I get to speak on the fly about things that I'm passionate about. Anyway, I don't know what we're talking about on Friday. We'll figure it out. I do have a list that you all sent in. I like that. That gives me at least a list of things to draw from. And if you have ideas, feel free to send them in to support@pokercoaching.com. Hey, Mr. James, come here. James, come here. What's wrong with you? Let me see this baby. Oh yeah, we're packing it up. Can you say hello? Can you say hello to the world? Why were you screaming? You don't want to come in? You want to go out and play all the time? Okay. Yeah, you like playing. You made a poop? When are you going to learn to be a big boy and use a big boy toilet? You're kind of learning. So, bye. Oh, you're telling Dama bye? You just want to hang out with your daddy? James loves hanging out with his daddy. Bye. All right, bye. James says bye. Have a good day. Enjoy yourselves.